Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem
Shana Tova. It's beautiful to be here this Monday night, this Erev Rosh Hashanah, on the verge of 5782. I'd like to read this poem by Alden Solovey. Let us dream wildly unimaginable blessings, blessings so unexpected, blessings so beyond our hopes for this world, blessings so unbelievable in this era, that their very existence uplifts our vision of creation, our relationships to each other, and our yearning for life itself. Let us dream wildly unimaginable blessings, a complete healing of mind, body, and spirit, a complete healing for all, the end of suffering and strife, the end of plague and disease, when kindness flows from the river of love, when goodness flows from the river of grace, awakened in the spirit of all beings, when God's light, radiating holiness, is seen by everyone. Let us pray with all our hearts for wildly unimaginable blessings, so that God will hear the call to open the gates of the garden, seeing that we haven't waited, that we've already begun to repair the world, in testimony to our faith in love, our faith in each other, and our faith in the Holy One. Blessed be God's name. If you have a machzor, if you're in this room, hopefully you have one. If you're not in this room and you're watching us via the YouTube, we're in this machzor called the new machzor. If you don't have one and you want to pick one up this week, we have some extra copies here that you can borrow. We're on page 9 for the beginning of our service with the words of Ma Tovu, saying how nice it is to be together, how incredible it is to share space, to hear our voices blending together, to feel like a community, a little bit altered, but still a community once again. Page 9.
Ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, va'ani berav chasdecha, ahavo beitecha, eshtacha ve'el heicha kadshecha, be'yiratecha. נפלאתי לך, אדוני את רצון. אלוהים ברוב חסדך, אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת אישך. מה טובו, let me hear you, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו, מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. משכנותיך
Page 11. We'll read together as we greet the new year, page 11. Eternal God, as the new year begins, we have come together to pray as a congregation, yet each of us is strangely solitary in your presence. Each of us comes before you with special hopes and dreams. Each of us has personal worries and concerns. Each of us has a prayer no one else can utter. Each of us brings praise no one else can offer. Each of us feels a joy no one else can share. Each of us has regrets which others cannot know. And so we pray, if we are weary, give us strength. If we are discouraged, give us hope. If we have forgotten how to pray, remind us. If we have been careless of time, forgive us. If our hearts have been chilled by indifference, warm them with your mercy and inspire us with the glowing spirit of this holy night. If you're able, please rise. We invite Maureen and Kevin Axelrad to open up the ark for us. We're on page 18 for the words of Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. Praised are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, whose word brings on the dusk of evening. Your wisdom opens the gates of dawn. Your understanding regulates time and seasons. The stars above follow their appointed rounds in response to your divine will. You create day and night. You alternate darkness and light. You remove the day and bring on the night. You separate one from the other. We call you Lord of heavenly hosts. You are our loving God. May you rule over us as you rule over nature. Praised are you, O Lord, who brings the evening dusk.
Ahavat olam made Yisrael.
בשכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד.
כי הם חיי
page 22, Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavcha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom alevavecha, v'shinantaham levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shiftecha beveitecha, uvlechtecha havaderech, uvshochbecha uvekumecha, ukshartam liot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
On page 28 and 29, towards the middle of the page, who is like you, O Lord, among the mighty? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, revered in praises, doing wonders? Page 28, towards the middle of the page.
U'malchuto v'ratzon kibelu alehem Moshe u'bnei Yisrael lecha anu shira v'simcha haraba yomeru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot oseh veleh Malchutecha rauvanecha lo keyam lifnei Moshe Ze'eli anu ve'ameru Adonai yimlach le'olam va'ed V'nehemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai
Baruch hu u'baruch shemo.
Ga'al Yisrael Amen.
On page 30 in your Machzor, we find Hashkivenu, which is a prayer we often say each and every day to mark that transition from everything we've accomplished or not accomplished into the night, to ask God to guide us and to shelter us and to keep us safe until we wake up again. And while it's the perfect prayer for those days, those Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays all year, it's also the perfect prayer for us tonight on Erev Rosh Hashanah, as we're saying to God, okay, we had a year, and it was a year full of a lot of activity, and there were things we accomplished and there were things we didn't accomplish. But as we prepare to hunker down and transition into the next year, we need you to shelter us. We need you to guide us and keep us safe. This is a Hashkivenu for tonight and for the entire year to come. Page 30.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Hamidenu
shalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai,
Ubaruch Shemo.
Apore sukat shalom, Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. Apore sukat shalom, Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. V'yal Yerushalayim.
Join me on the bottom of page 33. The bottom part of page 33 where we proclaim this day. You can read with me in English. Sound the shofar on the new moon at the time appointed for our new year. Its observance is a law for Israel, ordained by the God of Jacob.
תקעו בחודש שופר בכסת ליום חגנו.
כי חוק לישראל הוא, כי חוק לישראל הוא, כי חוק לישראל הוא, משפט אלוהי יעקב, יעקב.
Page 34, Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל
יתקדש
ויתקדש
ויתקדש
שמי רבה
אמן
וילמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי
בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל מעגל בזמן קריב
ואמרו
אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה
בריחו
לעילה ולעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושפחתה בנחמתה תאמירה בעלמה ואמרו
If you're able, please rise. The Amidah for the evening is found on page 36, It's a silent Amidah. It's a personal prayer. When you're finished with your prayer, either in Hebrew or English or the words inside of your soul, you may once again be seated, pages 36 to 46.
יהיו לרצון עם רפי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי Adonai Tzur the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Oh Lord, my rock. Oh Lord, my rock and my Redeemer.
Page 44 at the top. V'al kulam. V'al kulam, yitbarach v'yitraman, yitbarach v'yitraman, shimcha malkeinu tamid le'olam va'ed, v'al kulam. V'cho hachayim yodu chasela v'halelu et shimcha be'emet ha'el Yeshuateinu ve'ezrateinu Selah v'al kulam yitbarach v'yitraman shimcha malkeinu tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lehodot. The bottom of the page, B'Sefer Chaim, the book of life and blessing, peace and prosperity. May we and all your people, the house of Israel, be inscribed for a good and peaceful life. Praised are you, O Lord, source of peace.
B'Sefer Chaim beracha v'shalom u'parnasa tova nizacher v'nikater lefanecha אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ניזכר ונתכתר לפניך. לחיים טובים ולשלום.
Baruch atah Adonai,
וברוך שמו.
Oseh HaShalom.
Amen.
page 50, Kaddish Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה אמן ויאמר דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל ועגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו
אמן ישמי רבה מבורך לעולם
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ביעלמה דמירן ביעלמה ואמרו
אמן
תתקבל תלותון ובתון דכל ישראל קדם אבוהם דבישמיה 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 ואמרו
אמן
יהי שלמה רבה משמיה וחיים וחיים עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
אמן
עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל
If you're able, please rise as we light the candles for Yontif and we say the Kiddush. Those of you who are at home, you can now take out your bottle of grape juice or wine as we say the words of Kiddush. We're on page 56.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה, את יום הזיכרון הזה, יום תרועה, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כיוון ובחרת אותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ובדרך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך שמו.
מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. מקדש ישראל ביום הזיכרון.
L'chaim.
שהחיינו.
Put your arms around each other if you know each other and you're potted together.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו
בזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו בזמן הזה.
You may be seated. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves to the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. This song by folk duo Mamuse has been careening around my mind since this past Pesach when we sang it at our outdoor Seder. We shall be known by the company we keep, the song goes, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. It's a beautiful statement about identity and an image of coziness and belonging and home. We shall be known. We are known, and my mask just broke because that's what we live in right now. We shall be known, and we are known by the times we live in and what we make of them. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the people we associate with, by the causes we champion, by the moments where we throw up our hands and laugh. But as Jews, what are we known by? What company do we keep, so to speak? Of course, there are stereotypes. that we are doctors and lawyers, that we love a good brisket and a good argument. But that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, what are the values that we as Jews are known by? For example, we could say that Judaism is a tradition that values taking care of the orphan and the widow and the stranger. We value giving tzedakah to the less fortunate, leaving the corners of our fields to be gathered by the hungry. We say that our father Abraham welcomed in dusty travelers off the road, that Naomi took in Ruth, who was the first person to choose Judaism, and welcomed her into her home and her family. We say that our teacher and prophet, Moses, protected people he didn't know when they were threatened and defended Bnei Israel when they made mistakes. And it is with pleasure that we talk about these stories and identify ourselves with them. We are known by these values. They are the company we keep. I am a proud Jew when I speak of these stories and these characters. But if we shall be known by the company we keep and by the stories and ancestors we just named, then what do we do about the people our beloved ancestors shunned and harmed and left behind? Do we still want to be known by those ancestors who did hurtful things? How do we reconcile the fact that Abraham, our founding father, is both the man whose name we invoke multiple times daily in prayer, and also the man who threw his intimate companion, Hagar, out into the desert, along with his own baby son, Ishmael? How do we reconcile the fact that our teacher Moses, who led our people out of slavery in Egypt, was once so overcome with rage that he murdered a man and buried him in the sand? We shall be known by the company we keep and by the company we do not keep. If we shall be known by what we embrace, then we shall also be known by what we destroy or gloss over or ignore or pretend does not exist. And we must not gloss over or ignore the more painful aspects of our sacred tradition. I am in no way suggesting that our ancestors were monsters or that we should never invoke their names. No. What I am suggesting is that we have to change our concept of the company we keep to reflect the more rich and complicated reality of human life. For example, I am willing to bet that Moses wrestled with regret for killing that Egyptian whose name he did not even know for the rest of his life. So, in addition to identifying with Moses, the leader, I also choose to keep company with Moses, the imperfect human who learned from his mistakes, even the ones he could never take back. I'm willing to bet that Abraham tossed and turned and was racked with guilt the night he turned out Hagar and Ishmael into the wilderness. How could he not have been? So, in addition to loving Abraham, who is the father of Judaism, I also keep company with Abraham, who was so torn between loyalties that he mistreated his own family. Tomorrow, we, along with Jews all around the world, will read the infamous story of the Akedah, of Abraham's binding of Isaac. Many of us have been taught to read this story as one of deep faith, as the story of a father willing to sacrifice even his own son for a God who is testing him. This year, though, I am keeping company with Abraham, the troubled man who, after a difficult and at times agonizing life, hears a voice in his head telling him to do a terrible, terrible thing, and who does not have the resources to get help or the strength to say no. And you know what? I wish I could offer that Abraham a hug. I wish I could sit with him. I wish I could tell him, Abraham, forgive yourself. You are not alone in this terrifying moment, and I honor your struggle. The thing is, I can't say that to Abraham. All I can do is say to you, to each person in this room and watching online, to say, forgive yourself. You are not alone in your struggles. All I can do is look in the mirror in the morning and see myself and say, forgive yourself. You are not alone in your struggles. God did not choose perfect people to be our ancestors, and I believe that God is not choosing perfect people now. God is choosing us if we are ready to be chosen and ready to respond to our own inevitable failings with honesty and compassion. I have to believe that every one of us sitting here today has the power to go forth from this moment and live worthwhile lives, no matter what we've done before. This high holiday season, we're going to be taking a deep dive, along with all other Jews, into some of our meatiest stories. We're going to spend time with the words of Isaac and Abraham and Hannah and Jonah and Adam and Eve. And each ancestor is beautiful, just as each ancestor is flawed. And these stories, for better or for worse, are the company we keep and the company that we pass down to each generation, Lador Vador. We will honor our ancestors and ourselves this holiday season by embracing them in their holy and imperfect entirety, just as we commit to embracing ourselves. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. Shana Tova.
If you haven't yet had the opportunity to meet our rabbinic intern, Rachel Simmons, who's been with us for the last 5 months or so, it's a pleasure to learn with her and to sing with her. We look forward to hearing more from her this holiday season and in the months to come. If you're able, please rise. We're back in our Machzor for the words of Aleinu. We are on page 58 in our Machzor.
לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגהור עלינו כחוהמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוגד השמיים ויוסד הארץ, ובמושב יקרו בשמיים ממעט, ושתהי נטוזו בגבי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Okay. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר בחיית אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
You may be seated. We turn forward now to page 66. There's a psalm that we add this time of year between the beginning of Elul and the end of all of these holidays with Simchat Torah. And it's on page 66. I invite Rabbi Rachel to lead us. There's a part of it that has a beautiful setting, a beautiful melody. If you're on page 66, it's 4 lines down 4 words from the end.
Achat sha'alti me'etz Adonai ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'etz Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yamei chayai lachazot benoam Adonai ulevaker beichalo lachazot benoam Adonai ulevaker beichalo.
One thing I ask of the Lord, for this do I yearn, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to feel the goodness of the Lord in God's sanctuary. With this transition from the 29th of Elul to the 1st of Tishrei, our community notes the yahrzeits of Betty Chernow, Babe Dunair, Pauline Schechter, Helen Katzberg, Jason Hammer, Max Aval, Irving Garvin, Saul Adler, Max Zelig-Jokowitz, Annie Rebecca Dubinsky, David Novogrodsky, Ann Spurn, and Benjamin Gabrilowitz. May the memories be beautiful to those who remember them, who loved them. To note that these are people who passed away on Rosh Hashanah and how much that impacts their whole family. If you are in a period of mourning or observing a yahrzeit, you're welcome to rise and to join with me, page 64, for the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divara kirute ve'amlich malchute v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach leolam ulalmei olmaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudasha b'richu le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. I'd like to call up our president, Sherry Mark, for some announcements.
Good evening and welcome. Welcome to everyone who's here in our sanctuary and everyone online. What a beautiful way to start our high holiday season. Thank you, Rabbi Averbach and Rabbi Rachel, and to Kenny, Cantor Kenny, and your choir. This is just such a beautiful way to, like I said, to start our holiday. And we are going to continue with all the beauty and the singing and the praying and the davening together. Tomorrow morning, 8:30, on the Warren Lawn, we're going to start with our family service. And 9:30, we're going to be back here in the sanctuary. Thank you to everyone who's been here tonight. And let's all remember, we'll keep our masks on. We're going to keep each other safe. And we're going to enjoy our holidays together. I'll see you all tomorrow. Shana Tova.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you to Mark and Svi for being our ushers. Thank you to Gideon for making sure this is running okay. If you do have questions for us, please find somebody with a gold badge who's making sure that this is running smoothly. Find me, or find our birthday boy, our Vice President of Religion and Worship, Benny. Thank you for making sure that this is going forward. So thank you. One more thought before we go, and then we'll have a little final song. Yigdal? Why don't you come up for Yigdal, then I'll do my final thought. You do Yigdal first, and then I'll do a closing prayer.
Okay.
All right, so for Yigdal, we're on page 68.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח נמצא ואין עד אל מציאותו אחד ויחיד כייחודו לעם וגם עצו לאחדותו אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף לא נערוך אליו כקדושתו קדמו לכל דבר אשר נברא ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו הנה אדון עולם וכל נוצר ירא גדולתו ומלכותו שפע נבואתו נתן האל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו לא כאן בישראל כמו שאול נביא ומעביד את אמונתו תורת אמת נתן לים אוהל על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו לא יחליף האל ולא יאיר דתו לעולמים לזולתו צופה ויודע סתרנו מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו גומל לאיש חסד כמפעלו נותן לרשע רע כרישתו ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו ברוך הדיין שם תהילתו.
One closing thought, a little story that was sent to me. A lovely little boy was holding 2 apples, one in each hand. His mother came in and softly asked her little boy with a smile, "My sweetie, could you give your mom one of your 2 apples?" The boy looked up at his mom for some seconds. Then he suddenly took a bite out of one apple, and then quickly the other apple. The mom tried hard not to reveal her disappointment. Then the little boy handed one of the bitten apples to his mom and said, "Mommy, here you are. This is the sweeter one." The path to peace, I felt the same way. The path to peace starts with giving others the benefit of the doubt. May it be a year of peace and of health and of happiness for you and yours. See you tomorrow morning. Shana Tova.
לשנה טובה תיקתמו, לשנה טובה תיקתמו, תיקתמו ותחתמו. שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, לשנה טובה, שנה טובה, תיקתמו. שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, שנה טובה, לשנה טובה, שנה טובה, תיקתמו. שנה טובה, Shana Tova Tikatebu. Shana Tova Tikatebu.